All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Week number 8. We're diving into the Sunday games in today's video, with the exception of Sunday Night Football. That will be its own video here on the channel, but all of the other Sunday games, we're going to dive into them. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that I like within the game as well. But as always, guys, like I always tell you, all of my final plays, if you do want to roll with me or if you want to fade me, all of my plays will be listed for free in the pinned comment, so make sure to keep an eye on that. This video, we didn't have the best week number 7, right? But this video, we went 5-2 in last week, so hopefully we can take some of that Sunday momentum and roll it right into this one. Before we do get started, though, I want to talk to you guys about Sleeper. They have an unbelievable deal going on right now. First off, you get a Dak free square, 0.5 passing yards, right? But that's not the best part of the deal. The best part is that they are offering a 200% deposit match right now for the rest of October. So if you go and throw $100 into Sleeper, you'll have $300 to play with. You can throw 50, you'll have 150. You guys can do the math there, a 200% deposit match. So go ahead and check it out. That link is in the pinned comment as well as the description. But last thing to talk about, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But if you are new, hit that subscribe button. Let's jump into game number 1 here. Should be a good one. We got the Bengals taking on the Eagles. Right now, Bengals 2.5-point favorites here at home. That total is sitting at 47.5. Eagles coming off of a dominant performance. That was one of my favorite looks last week. Their team total, they dropped 28 points. Cincinnati, we also liked Cincinnati last week. We had their team total over 20.5. They ended up scoring 21, so we had to sweat it out, but they did cash. Now we have two teams that cashed for us last week playing one another. This is a spot in which I do think it may be worth considering the Eagles in some sort of an alternate spread. So right now they're +3. I don't see the value in making them, +3.5 or something. I'd actually go opposite. I'd go -3 or -2.5 and get some really good odds. Neither defense is all that great, and I think Philadelphia is going to start getting better and better as they've now gotten their key pieces back and healthy. Maybe Goddard plays this week as well. The one thing that has me hesitating here, and it's the one thing, is the idea that Cincinnati is down bad. You know what I mean? They're 3-4. Yes, they got 2 wins in a row, but it was against New York, and then it was against Cleveland. Like, they need a big win pretty badly to get things going. So if they come into this with ultimate intensity, that worries me a little bit. But maybe the safer play would just be taking a peek at the team total over for the Eagles or something like that, because then we don't have to worry about them winning or covering or anything like that. We can just say, hey, go take advantage of what I'd consider a lackluster Cincinnati defense. So I'm Eagles all the way in this one. It's just a matter of how are we going to play it is the question, or if we do play it, do we find the value? So keep an eye on the pinned comment for that. I'd also say on the Eagles side of things, if Dallas Goedert plays and if he is 100%, I don't mind some of his props. We've seen some, production uptick in terms of tight ends against Cincinnati this season. Now, in terms of the total, like I already mentioned, I don't mind, the Eagles team total. I also don't mind the Bengals scoring a decent amount of points. You have two very talented offenses here overall against two defenses that aren't all that tremendous. The 18th ranked defense in terms of DVOA rankings for the Eagles and 20th for Cincinnati. Both teams not all that great against the pass, not all that great against the rush. So maybe this is a spot in which we can consider a total as well going over 47.5. But like I said, I'm pretty big on the Eagles here and them started to get things going in the right direction. So maybe there's a little spot where I just say, hey, screw it. Let's eliminate all these variables. Just go Eagles team total over. That could be a possibility. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for that. And any of the player props like Goddard or even the running backs probably could have good games in this one. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. Moving on to the Dolphins taking on Arizona. I think this line has even moved since we've done the graphic -3. I think it's at like 3.5 now. So definitely moving towards Miami, I guess, in terms of them being favored. Now we should see Tua back, right, coming off of IR. Does that give the Dolphins a little bit of a bump? Of course it does. Their quarterback play has not been great, and we know Tua is decent with this offense, right? To me, I still don't necessarily think that fixes or helps their defensive woes overall, and Arizona's coming off of a decent win there in primetime Monday night against the Chargers. Though they only scored 17 points, I still think that they could go out there and play fairly well. I mean, Tennessee dropped 31 points against this Dolphins team, right? So I don't don't necessarily sit here and say it's a world-beating Dolphins defense. Maybe this is just a spot in which kind of what we just did for the Eagles. Maybe we look at Arizona team total over, because I don't want to sit here and tell you that Miami's offense isn't going to be better or isn't going to compete, because who knows? They have such an explosive offense. Throwing Tua back into the mix, maybe they snap right back to that team that, scored 70 last year type of thing, right? So it's kind of a tough spot here. I do think that their run defense struggles a lot, so Arizona still would be my play, taking the 3.5 points. It's a key number there, right? I know it says 3, but you can get Arizona at plus 3.5. I don't mind that. I think that they can run the ball, kind of establish rhythm like that, and then even Miami's secondary and Miami's defense overall, I don't think is going to have, a field day with Kyler Murray, so I'd still take Arizona, but maybe it is some sort of a team total play or something like that. Again, we're at the point in the year where we've learned a lot about these teams and sort of dynamics. Sometimes just taking that team total, you don't have to worry about the spread. You can kind of just isolate how a team might perform against another team offensively, right? So we'll see where that goes. Again, that's kind of in fear of what if Miami just snaps right back to being a good offense. I don't mind the over, because I've already ragged on Miami's defense, but it's not like, we're sitting here with an Arizona team that's a world-beating team. In fact, Tua could have a good day if he does play and everyone's healthy, because this is the third worst team from a passing DVOA ranked ranking. So yeah, what if Tua goes out there and lights it up? We could see a lot of points in this bad boy. So I'll lean towards the over, but I'll take the 3.5 with Arizona, as well as a lean towards their team total. And like I mentioned, I think James Conner could have a decent day. So maybe a touchdown look for him, maybe a carries look or yards. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. Like I've already said, 5 minutes into the video, I've said a million times. I guess it is what it is. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. There's another one, 1,000,001 times. All right, I'm not at all excited for this next one, and that is sad to say. I am a Patriots fan from Boston. It stinks to not even be nearly excited for the Patriots. Even with Drake May starting, it gives a little bit of juice, but overall, I still just cannot get up for it. And they're playing the Jets, who I really don't know what to make much of, right? 2-5 on the year, 2-5 straight up. On the road, they're 1-3. Like, yes, they get Devontae Adams, but how'd that experiment go? They got beat by, 22, 20, whatever, against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh dropped 37 on this team. The Pittsburgh offense dropped 37 on this Jets defense, so I really don't know what to make of it. I guess because it's a divisional rivalry and all that, maybe I take the points with the Patriots, but I'll sound the psycho alert alarm for that. That ain't anything that I'm all that thrilled about. From a total perspective, yeah, I guess I'd lean under, just given the fact that, I know the Patriots offense stinks, and the Jets seemingly have some issues. They've scored 9, 17, 20, 15 in the last 4 games. Maybe another week with Devontae Adams and Rodgers is going to help out, and maybe they go out and score a decent amount, but, this is in Foxborough. I think it could be a spot for an under, but I am really not jumping to the window to try and play this game. I think it's one of the worst on the slate, which it kind of has been. Even when the Patriots were good, they kind of dog-walked the Jets, right? So never really a super betting advantage type of a game here. But yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It would take a lot for me to really want to wager on that game. All right, Bucks taking on the Falcons. Now, this would have been obviously a really good game, I guess you could say, but there's so many injuries on the Bucks side of things. Obviously, we have Chris Godwin, we have Mike Evans now injured, so this is McMillan, Palmer, Shepard for Tampa Bay's wide receiver core. Obviously, Cade Otton, I do like him. I think that could be a fine look offensively, but this is going to be a good game. Both teams coming off of tough losses. Tampa Bay getting all those injuries, and obviously losing to Baltimore is tough. And then you have the Falcons, who lost 34-14 last week to the Seahawks. This is going to be a Falcons play all the way for me. They're healthier. They have their guys. It was a really bad look. I get it, but we just saw these two teams face off, was it 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was an all-out offensive affair. I don't think Tampa Bay's offense is going to be able to hang as much as they did before. In fact, they were winning for a lot of that game. It took overtime to go and win, right, for the Falcons. So I just don't, if that was an offensive game round 1, I can't sit here and say that, they have the same ammo and firepower that they had then. So to me, Falcons, if this is offensive, they have all of the guys that they would need, right? Robinson, London, Mooney, McLeod, Kyle Pitts. Good offense. Kirk Cousins looks okay. I think he'll bounce back after last week. Give me the Falcons here minus the points. In terms of what we'd look at from a total, I just don't know where Tampa Bay's points come from. This could be like a 27-17 type of a game. It could be a 21-20. I just don't really know where the points come from, but I don't think we see 36-30 like last time out. So I'll lean towards the under, but again, it's kind of just with the thought process of where Tampa Bay's points coming from, right? So I'll lean in that direction. I'd much rather just lay it with the Cardinals, the Falcons in this spot minus the 2.5 points, honestly. And in terms of a player prop, like I would like Baker. We've seen him do good against this team, and even when he has bad games, he seems to throw for a lot of yards. But the question is still, who the hell is he throwing to, right? So that's something that I would look at. We've seen some, quarterback success here against Atlanta, but either way, I just cannot get behind a Bucs offense until I see it look okay with the injuries that it has, but I don't think it will. So Atlanta minus the points is probably the only thing that I'd truly consider in that spot. Hey, and real quick, guys, I know I already asked you in the beginning of this video, but if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and subscribing. I talked about 100,000 subscribers. That was like a dream. Like, I don't understand how we're that close to 100,000. I know we're going to hit it, but I'm so excited to go and do that. We've put a lot of work into this. I've been doing Guy Boston for over 8 years. We just went full-time this season, March 1st, right? So I'm super, super stoked to potentially see a triple-digit thousand marker next to the channel name. So hit that subscribe button if you are new, and hit that like button as well. And just to let me know that you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment 11. You're about to hit that 11 minute mark. Appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I don't take any of this for granted. Hopefully you are enjoying the content. Speaking of it, let's get back into it. Lions taking on the Titans. So on H to H, I took the over in this spot, and I still do like it. Couple of reasons why. We know Detroit has the ability to score a lot of points. They dropped 31 on that Minnesota good defense a week ago. They won that game, no big deal. We were on the Titans money line there. The Lions money line. Was that a sign? Titans money line, but we were on the Lions money line last week for plus money, so we love to see that. I think that they can score a decent amount of points, even though it's a decent Tennessee defense, but I'm liking the over because maybe I'm crazy in saying it. I think the Titans may be able to move the ball against this Detroit defense. Now, if you look at the raw numbers, aka rushing yards per game and all that, like, it looks like this defense is really good against the rush. But in terms of DVOA metrics, this is actually a way better pass defense. Now, yes, they lose Hutchinson, I get it, but that doesn't hurt the Titans from moving the ball, right? So I think if the Titans can put up somewhat of a number, this over could or should hit, as if should even matters in sports betting. But that's my main play in this one. I took it on H to H, so I don't know if I want to double down here and take it again in terms of diversifying the portfolio to throw some vocab at you. But overall, I think that this is a decent spot for some points. I'm probably going to be wrong. You can always fade me. In terms of the side, I like the Lions, obviously, to win the game. They're the clear-cut better team, but man, oh man, is 11 points a lot to lay. So maybe this is some sort of a money line parlay, or, get it down a crazy spread to like 2.5, something in some sort of big teaser or parlay. I think it's just a lot of points for a spot in which maybe the Titans keep it close. But again, like, I can't sit here and bet Titans plus 11 because Detroit's that good, right? So it's a tough spot. I like the over more than anything in this spot, in all honesty there. But it could be a spot in which Tennessee surprises some people. I'm not betting that myself, so I'm not going to take credit for it if it happens, but just don't say I didn't tell you that, 11 points may not be the biggest smart lay with the Lions. All right, Texans taking on the Colts. I think we've seen a couple 5.5s out there, so the graphic says 6, but Texans minus 5.5 as of right now. That total also down since getting that, so maybe it's at 46 right now. I feel like I'm even seeing a 45.5 on the board, so keep an eye on the odds. Obviously, everything is subject to change when we record this to the closing lines, but overall, we did see these two teams play week number 1. It was a win for the Texans, 29-27. I think something that's gotten a lot better since then is, I guess I would say, this Texans defense. I do really believe that. So yes, I think the Colts offense may be a little bit underrated. I think that they've actually looked, I would say, okay, but they scored 30 something against Jacksonville, 20 against Tennessee. Let's see if we could pull that up really quick. 27 against Pittsburgh, 34 against Jacksonville, Tennessee 20, and then a bad one last week against Miami. So they've looked okay. The Texans offense, I would say, is definitely 10 times better. And like I mentioned, the defense, I think the defense has gotten a lot better for Houston. So this is going to be a Houston spot for me. I also don't mind the under. Now, I have a player prop that doesn't really correlate to an under all that well. I think CJ Stroud could have a decent game here against Indianapolis. So yes, that doesn't correlate, but this is the 26th ranked team in terms of passing defensive DVOA. I like that for CJ Stroud, and he had a good game against them in week number 1, in which I thought the defense was a little bit better for Indianapolis. So yeah, I lean towards Stroud to have a decent game, whether that's his completions or yards, TBD, but give me the Texans laying the points as well as the under in this spot. Do I think it goes way under? Not necessarily. I think both these offenses do have some good pieces. You obviously have Stroud, Mixon, Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins still out, but then you have Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, who can make plays happen, Pittman if he plays. Like there is a lot of talent here, so I don't think it soars way under. I just don't think we see a 29-27 like we did in week number 1. I think the Texans defense is a little bit sharper, and that's going to carry the weight here. All right, Jags taking on the Green Bay Packers here, and this one gives me a headache. Jaguars 2-5 on the year. They are 3-4 against the spread. They're at home here, 2-1, but they're only getting 4 points. Like Green Bay, a 5-2 team, 2-1 on the road this year, are just 4-point favorites over what I'd say is a really bad Jaguars team. Like this is a good Green Bay team. They're actually 5-1 in their last 6 games, right? Whereas Jacksonville, yes, they got a win over New England, but it's the Patriots, and they beat the Colts. We just talked about how the Colts aren't all that great. Like, this smells and reeks of a trap in this spot. I don't want to overthink it. Like, I really can't get to Jacksonville plus the 4. Their defense is terrible. Green Bay has a really good offense. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get to Jacksonville plus the 4, but I don't know if it's safe to take that Packers -4. Like, this is a spot in which you'd assume the odds, or the line would be like 6.5, 7, right? It's not, and maybe it's because Green Bay's run defense hasn't been all that great, and Jacksonville, Bigsby, the emergence of him, maybe they'll be good. Like, I really just can't get behind either side here, so I hate to tap out, but maybe the one way I'd look at this, that way we don't have to worry about the spread, is a Green Bay team total over. Jordan Love should be able to have a field day. The receivers should be good to go. When they need to run the ball, I think they can, but Jacksonville's been okay against the run, but 32nd ranked pass defense from a DVOA perspective, and then the last 3 weeks here, the 3rd worst just from a passing yards per game perspective. So overall, I do think that this Green Bay team should put up points, but is Jacksonville going to be able to run on this Green Bay defense? Potentially. Are they going to be able to put up 30 plus points like they did last week? I don't know. Maybe. Like, this line again smells like a trap. So Green Bay team total over probably seems like the most minimized risk here in this spot for me, because something about that 4 number just seems a little bit too low to me. Now, the total's at 49. I would also just say, hey, use that play as a hybrid in terms of my opinion. That Packers team total over, that kind of hits it with the spread as well as the over in general. But I don't know. Jacksonville could just go back to scoring 10 points. You know what I mean? So I'll take Green Bay team total over. That's probably the only thing that I really want to touch in this one. Or Jordan Love's passing yards over, because this Jacksonville defense really, really stinks in the secondary. Again, allowing plenty of yards to quarterbacks. All right, Deshaun Watson out, Jameis Winston in, and we have the Browns 9-point dogs at home here against the Ravens. Total is sitting at 44.5. I can understand why someone would want to take that large chunk of points with the Browns. You're getting Chubb back. You have Jameis Winston, who I'm sure a lot of Browns fans are excited about because Deshaun Watson was so bad. But to me, this is still a Baltimore team that is just so much better now. Obviously, there could be some grittiness in division rivalry going on here that impacts this game. But overall, I would still lay the points with Baltimore. I just can't really justify Cleveland, especially not seeing exactly a full game of Jameis, and even Chubb didn't have the best of games. You know what I mean? So, and the defense hasn't looked as good as you'd hope it would look as a Browns fan, right? Like, this is supposed to be a team that can hang their hat on their defense. They have not been all that great. So, I mean, not saying they've been terrible, but they haven't been all that great. So, it's still a Baltimore play for me here. Total-wise, I would almost think under, because of that sort of, like I alluded to, the grittiness of a back-and-forth game. But if you think the Browns' offense would look better with Winston, you got the Ravens' offense obviously cooking. I guess ultimately I fade my initial gut reaction and lean towards an over. One player prop that I'm liking, and I'm hoping that it kind of, follows the game script that I'm thinking Baltimore has a big lead, would be David Njoku over in his receiving yards. It's at like 50 right now, maybe 49.5. He saw 14 targets last week. Now, that was with a mixed mosh of quarterbacks, but we've seen a lot of tight end success against this Ravens team. In fact, a 39% production uptick from defense first position to the opposing tight end. So I like that idea of him getting, 1, a lot of targets, and 2, tons of yards if doing so. Maybe even a peek at Njoku in terms of a touchdown play. Maybe that's something we kick around. Seattle sitting at 3-point dogs against the Bills this week. 47 is the total. Seattle coming off of that really good win against Atlanta, and it was a good win, 34-14. Buffalo kind of finding their groove here. They've dominated. They dominated last week, beat the Jets in primetime the week prior, so they're looking okay. And this is a game in which we should be expecting some weather, if I'm not mistaken, right now in Seattle. 13-mile-an-hour winds, 99% chance of rain. Who knows? It's weather, it can change, but we are talking Seattle here. I think it's going to be a running type of affair, and I think that that's where the Bills sort of get their advantage. Obviously, the Seahawks have a great receiving core in Metcalf, Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett, but I do think James Cook and even maybe the emergence of Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, like I think that their ground game should be a little bit better. Now, I'm not knocking Kenneth Walker, but he's questionable in this spot as well, so definitely something worth noting. In Seattle, in terms of rushing yards against per game here, second worst in the last 3 weeks, and in the last 3 weeks we've seen Buffalo run the ball plenty on the season, actually even bigger of a sample size, the 8th highest frequency of runs. So James Cook should be healthy here, he should be able to carry the ball, and with that rain, I'm going to lean towards Buffalo in a close game. But then this is only a -3 spread. Maybe we buy a half a point to get it to 2.5 to get it inside a field goal, but to me, if this is going to be messy and sloppy, I'll trust Josh Allen and James Cook and company versus Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker, even if he doesn't play, Charbonnet, right? So I think that if this was perfect conditions passing, there may be a path to get to Seattle here, but with those winds and that rain, it may not be a passing type of a day. Now, you can make the argument that all of a sudden you're sitting here and it's like, well, Seattle should be used to this weather and the rain and all that, but the Bills are not fair weather, they're not a fair weather team, so I think that they should be suited just fine. Give me the Bills minus the points, lean towards the under as well, especially if I think that this game's going to be handled on the ground. And I've already alluded to it. I like James Cook. I like his touchdown, maybe his rushing attempts. Good time to buy low. I think he had 12 carries last week. His line's at like 13 right now, 13.5. Maybe that's a decent spot with a few more handoffs his way due to the weather and due to the type of great game script that at least I'm predicting. All right, I'll tell you right now, this isn't my favorite game on the board. Chargers, Saints. Chargers 7-point favorites. Total is sitting at 39.5. If anything, maybe a Saints team total under, but you're probably not going to get a very good line. But let's face it, this is a really bad Saints team. I don't think Derek Carr's playing, and if he does, obviously that's going to throw a lot of what we're talking about out the window, but I don't believe he's playing. I think he's questionable, but he didn't play last week. If he does, super different. But Olave's questionable, Kamara's questionable, Raheed Shaheed's out for a year. Like, this Saints team is in just disarray, and you have a good Chargers defense. And like I said, let's face it, the Chargers beat the Broncos, and the Broncos a week ago beat the Saints by 23 points. So there's a clear-cut better team here. Has crazier things happened? No kidding. But give me the Chargers in this spot, as well as a team total under for the Saints. Maybe a full game under as well. I think it's moving up at like 40 right now, so maybe wait it out and see what you can get. But to me, this isn't exactly the best spot to be picking aside. I would say J.K. Dobbins might be a good look because we saw what Javonte Williams did against that Saints defense last week. J.K. Dobbins coming off of kind of a meh week, right, overall. So against against Arizona, I think that he could bounce back. So maybe he puts one in, or we look at his over in yards as well. Commanders taking on the Bears. This could have the potential to be obviously a very good and exciting game here. We have Jaden Daniels, who is questionable. I don't think he's practiced yet this week, so that's kind of like a yikes. But Jaden Daniels potentially against Caleb Williams could be really exciting. I'm going to just cross my fingers and hope that Jaden Daniels plays. I don't think that I'll be betting this one if he doesn't, but I wouldn't mind Washington. I think that this is going to be a almost like, not a shootout because there is a good Bears defense here, but I think it's going to be a, hey, who's the better quarterback, meaning there's going to be a lot of pass plays, a lot of kind of run and gun type formats. And at this point, if he's healthy, Jaden Daniels may have the better of that. So I'll lean towards Washington plus the 3 points. I'm hoping we get to see this matchup because, let's be real, unless you're a Washington Commanders fan, one of the 6 of them, or a Chicago Bears fan, this game isn't all that enthralling unless we have the number 1 and 2 picks playing against one another at the quarterback position. So I like that spot, and like I said, I could see a decent amount of points in this one as well, even though that Chicago defense is very good. but have we seen what both these teams have done recently? Like Washington, 40-burger last week against Carolina. They scored 23, 34, 42, 38, 21 this season, right? And then you go to the Chicago side of things. They've gone 24 against LA 3 weeks ago. Okay, and then yes, these are two bad defenses, Carolina and Jacksonville, but they put up 36 and 35. Washington's defense isn't all that tremendous either, so maybe it's just a peek at the over if Daniels plays. That way you can just root for some good old-fashioned football between a couple young quarterbacks there. Broncos, Panthers, another one that not exactly all that thrilled about. I think it's a messy one. I know there's a lot of people now saying that the Broncos are very good, and I'm not going to sit here and say they aren't. I think their defense is legit. Still, I wouldn't say that they've had the most battle-tested of times this year, right? Like, if we look at their schedule, overall, I'm still not I guess I would say I'm not sold, like, fully on the defense. But the thing here is they're playing the Panthers, and I could play 1 on 11 and potentially make the Panthers look bad offensively. You know what I mean? So, to me, I think the Broncos prevail, but 9 points, I think it's already up at 10 at some books. Seems like it's a little bit too much. One interesting spot, and I feel like we have some value here, would be looking at a Carolina team total under. I think you can get it at like 17.5 or 16.5 right now. So essentially just not to go score 17 or 18 points. Could be a decent spot. We've seen Denver hold New Orleans to 10, Las Vegas to, was it 18, the Jets to 9. Now that was in a monsoon. Tampa Bay, before all the injuries, a really good offense, held them to 7, Pittsburgh to 13. Like, it could be a decent spot for a peek at a team total under for one of the worst teams. I think Bryce Young's coming back to start as well. So, yeah, I don't mind that spot. That's a kind of way of betting the Broncos without having to lay 9 points in a sense. So that's how I would look at this one overall. But it's another one of those games, and I'm sorry, but yeah, we go through every single game, but it's another one of those games that I'm just not racing to the window to try and bet because I think it could be kind of a sloppy, messy-ish game. Raiders taking on the Chiefs. Now, we have a new-look Chiefs team. I guess technically somewhat of a new-look Raiders team, too. No Devontae Adams, but DeAndre Hopkins now is a Chief. 10 points is a lot of points, especially in, we've seen, I don't want to say a lot of games, right, but we've seen these Raiders play the Chiefs somewhat tough over time, right? In terms of, against the spread, I guess, what is it, like pretty 50-50 in the last few years, but overall, I think 10 points is just too much to be confident in a football game, right? Even the Ravens, like when I talked about it, I was like, I would do that, but it's a lot of points. So what do we return to? And we do it a lot. Maybe just take a peek at the Chiefs team total. You can get it over 23.5 right now. This is not a very good Vegas defense, and the Chiefs offense should be a little upgraded now. Kareem Hunt, if he plays, I think he's questionable right now. If he plays, I like their run game still, even with Pacheco out, and they should be able to ramp it up passing-wise with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins in the mix. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Chiefs team total over. I don't mind the full game over, but yeah, the only thing I'm really staying away from and not wanting to touch with a 10-foot pole is Chiefs minus 10. Like, yes, they're great, they're better, but the Chiefs are due for somewhat of a misstep, and I don't think it necessarily comes via offense. I think it could be like 24-20 win for them, and nowhere near covering that 10 points, but they still scored 24 points for us, that type of thing, right? So I'll lean towards that. Player props-wise, I don't have any odds or lines out yet. I'm almost tempted to look at DeAndre Hopkins because this is the best quarterback in the game right now, and Mahomes throwing to, yes, he's a little bit older, but a guy that can run a damn good route, understand soft spots of zones and whatnot. Like, I think him and Kelsey could have a day, so maybe we just kind of take that and say, hey, Mahomes, go do your thing, right? But there could be some passing/receiving player props that we roll with in this game, but keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we do end up adding anything. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. NBA's back, MLB's going still with the World Series. Like, we have tons of content coming out, and I got a big old smile on my face because I love making it, love making these videos and just building this community. So I truly do appreciate it. Like I said in the middle of this video, I don't take any of this for granted. You guys have changed my life. I'm an idiot with a camera and a microphone and an annoying voice, yet you guys still choose to watch and everything like that. So appreciate the hell out of it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.